feel like doing. But success does not mean pride, and failure does not mean guilt. That is the point. Okay. Clear? Not yet. Yes, yes, Helen. One moment. Huh? Sorry. No, she's got that. Give them. Sweet, give this to Kirk. Yeah.
No, stay there because I think is the confusion coming because of Vipassana, through the whole Vipassana experience. I'm interested in
yes,
what Lily's saying because I did
your comments on what I told, what we talked about. Yeah.
Well, I did Vipassana for many years myself, and I think what Lily is saying is something, a huge dilemma I had, and it was something you brought up the very first time that I came here years ago, and I didn't get what you were saying at all. Because in Vipassana, the whole thing, the whole technique, the whole experience of it is that deep, deep witnessing of the thoughts to a place where you get detachment from it and no longer you're at the mercy of it.
Witnessing is not something you're doing.
Well, in Vipassana, it is more an experience because you're using a technique. You come to that place.
In Vipassana, when you're doing something, put your attention on it. Be mindful about it. So in your doing, the concept concerned is mindfulness. Don't do it absent-mindedly. Whatever you're doing, have your attention on it. That is mindfulness. Doing and mindfulness. They go doing and witnessing?
No, but I think what I'm trying to say is, because I found I did that through the experience, you try and, because you're in the meditation that becomes a witnessing of the thoughts, when you come to everyday life, then what you try and do is have that same witnessing of what goes on, and that's not possible. I mean, because it's the dilemma of you can't be doing something and consciously being one with what you're doing and still be outside witnessing it at the same time. That's the dilemma.
That is not the dilemma.
That's an illusion. That can't work.
That is not the dilemma. You are doing something. Someone else is witnessing it.
Yes.
You are doing something, someone else is witnessing it.
You can't do and witness at the same time.
You can't do and
witness at the same time.
You witness when you are meditating, or in meditating you are not doing anything.
Exactly. But I think that's the Vipassana confusion, where people think that they can go out in life and somehow witness and be doing at the same time.
Which
you
is
can't.
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Therefore, the concept which goes with doing is not witnessing, but according to mindfulness. The concept which goes with doing is the concept of mindfulness, not witnessing, which is confused with witnessing. So what they say is, when you are doing something, however trivial, let your mind be there, let your attention be there. Don't do it absent-mindedly. That is mindfulness. Doing and mindfulness. But doing and witnessing impossible. For one reason. You can't stand and still and sit at the same time.
Sorry, you can't?
You cannot sit and stand at the same time.
No.
Precisely, you can't stand and sit at the same time. You can't do something and witness something. But you can do something with the understanding that I'm not the doer. That is not witnessing.
Well, and that's the thing
I can
missing,
do something with the, actually I'm the doer, I am not the doer. That is nothing to do with witnessing. That is the understanding. But my point is, whether I understand that I'm the doer or not the doer, an action still has to happen. And for that action to happen, doing has to happen. And the doing has to happen through a body-mind instrument. Therefore, a body-mind instrument has to do something. And the individual concerned with that body-mind organ may believe he is the doer or he is not the doer. But the action still has to happen through that body-mind instrument. Therefore, for daily living to happen, action has to happen. And that is why action is your birthright, whether you believe you are the doer or not. Doing something is your birthright. The result of it has never been in your control. That is the core of what the Bhagavad Gita says.
And then, Ramesh, I still come back to this question of, and I keep going on to it in different ways, it's like, when you fully understand you're not the doer,
Yes.
then it
Now
really takes...
wait a minute, Helen. At this point, you know you are not the doer. I know I am not the doer. But if I want to drink some
See,
out
you
of the
have to
cup,
get up and go and get it.
I know I am not the doer.
Yeah.
Do I expect the cup to come to me and put the tea in my mouth? No. I know I am not the doer. But if there is an itch, who does the scratching?
Well, if you're lucky, somebody else.
And what the idea that you have has been strengthened by all kinds of, not myths, things may have happened, but even there, I think for every one true action, 10 other stories have been implanted.
Sorry, I'm not with you, Ramesh.
I read only this morning
Yeah.
a story about Ramana Maharshi. A boy, when they were going somewhere, a boy threw a stone at a bird. The bird fell. So Ramana Maharshi said, what is needed now is 80 years ago, 2 annas. Today even the beggar will throw away 2 annas. 2 annas. 1 anna is 16th of a rupee. Before the decimal system. So he said, if someone brings 2 annas, the whole thing can be settled. So someone did. So he said, give those 2 annas to the boy. So the boy took 2 annas, he was happy and went. So now, then he said, if somebody brings some grapes, then I can squeeze the grape juice on the head of this bird and the bird will revive. And before anybody could go and bring the grapes, someone comes with some grapes to be offered to Ramana Maharshi. So the happening that when the grapes were needed, God sent someone with the grapes. And Ramana Maharshi and the bird. So whether it's a fact or it's a story, see what I mean? But I'm not saying it can't happen. I tell you why it can't happen. It can happen for one reason. Very simple. You know that photograph of Ramana Maharshi there? That one. That one over there.
By the glass in the middle.
Yes, don't bring out that photograph. You know how it came to me? In Los Angeles, 30 years ago. No, sorry, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, my wife and I were in Los Angeles, our first seminar. And I always carried a tiny photograph of Ramana Maharshi. So, one morning, when the thing came, I said, when we go back, I have to have a bigger photograph of him and put it on my desk. Would you believe it? The same morning, an hour later, someone comes with this photograph. And they said, I don't know, but I felt that you would like to have this. I said, yes, I do. Thank you very much. That's happened. So if the thing can happen to me, why can it not happen to someone like Ramana Maharaj? I'm not saying that. But for one true story, there may be 10. One true fact, 10 stories. But this is the story. When grapes were needed, someone came with the grapes. So I can't say it cannot happen because it happened to me. But even if it happened, it is still a happening. So, how would I interpret that? The way I interpret it, it was the destiny of that bird not to die. It was the destiny of that bird not to die. Therefore, it had to have grape juice poured on his head. Therefore, if the destiny of the bird not to die, somebody had to come with the grape. So whether it is destiny of someone like Ramana Maharshi or destiny of a bird, still destiny. And it has to happen. Whether it's a leaf falling from the branch of a particular tree or an earthquake happening, small or big, whatever has to happen is to will happen.
So it's the destiny of the grapes to be squeezed, and
I'm sorry?
the destiny of the grapes to be squeezed at that moment, and the
destiny of the grapes, yes, we can take. So if you say the destiny of that leaf was to fall,
yes. So by the same token, every moment is the destiny of what has been happening, not just the dead.
No, my point is everything is a happening, but whether it is somebody's destiny or not. If a stone is being thrown somewhere, if you want to literally, it is the destiny of that stone.
Yes.
But that is carrying a thing a bit too far.
Well, still the question that arises in me, Ramesh, is it's like saying, okay, well, if it's my destiny to, say, have enlightenment this lifetime or to be completely healed this sometime, it's going to happen anyway, regardless of what I ostensibly go and do. So then I could say, well, if I truly, really deeply understand and accept that, why do I need to meditate or to do any therapies or to do anything? What's the point? I mean, if I really, really understand that, there's no need to do any of it.
Yes. But if it is your destiny to be helped by that work being done, that work will be done. You will find yourself doing it. A typical case which has been, you decide you see the clock, you say, I have still 15 minutes to sleep. I'll sleep for 15 minutes more. And before you realize it, you're on your feet after 3 minutes. Has it not been everybody's experience? Therefore, you're getting up at that time was the better destiny. Even if you have decided not to get up for 15 minutes, you find your body getting up.
It's really just about coming out of the mind again, isn't it?
I'm sorry?
It's really just about coming out of the mind again.
And therefore you say, really, we think, you make up your mind. You decided to do something. But now science, through measurement, has proved that the decision to do something half a second earlier had happened in your brain. Proved. Research has proved it. So before Helen thought, I have decided to do this, the decision has already been made in the brain almost half a second earlier. Who made that decision? God did.
I was reading in your one book last night about how the scientists have discovered that the whole top of the brain area is where God basically resides, where it comes through, everything comes through. Huh?
So therefore, really, whatever is happening in the brain. So what these scientists are trying to do is find out exactly where the consciousness is located in the brain.
But Ramesh, in that sense, when you talk about destiny again, you mean, I'm coming back to the previous moment.
We're talking of destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you speak of destiny, you
No,
mean...
wait a minute. I talk of destiny of a particular individual. So my destiny, your destiny, everybody's destiny is the same as God's will or cosmic law. In other words, God's will or cosmic law applied to me is my destiny. God's will or cosmic law applied to Lily is Lily's destiny.
It's Lila.
It's the same
actually.
thing. It is the same thing.
My name is actually Lila.
Did I say Lily?
Yeah.
Oh, Lila, yeah.
I forgot to correct.
But in actual daily living, it makes a difference. Leela is Leela. Leela is not Leela.
Yes. So destiny is actually just another name for...
No, wait a minute. It's not another name. Destiny is another perspective for the same thing.
Yes. Okay.
Perspective from the point of view of the individual.
Okay. But if you take off from the point of view of the individual and you...
Then whatever is happening is God's will or cosmic law.
Call it destiny or not, it doesn't
Destiny
matter.
refers to the individual. Cosmic law refers to the entire universe. Whatever is happening in the entire universe is God's will or cosmic law. But whatever is to happen to a particular individual is her destiny. But it means the same thing.
It's the same law prevailing.
Same thing applies to someone. Therefore I say whatever has happened according to the one's destiny, God's cosmic law. I say three things in the same breath for that reason. They mean the same thing. Yes. You have a question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Maya illusion.
I'm sorry?
The concept Maya.
Maya, yes.
Illusion. I mean, if everything ultimately is God, how can there really even be a concept of Maya?
Maya, what is Maya?
Well, illusion.
Illusion. Illusion is based on what? Appearance. Illusion is based on appearance. So, you are real. But when you stand before a mirror, the image
It's an illusion.
is an illusion.
So from
Or rather, it doesn't have an independent existence. But for this appearance is in consciousness. But that doesn't need a mirror. So the manifest is an appearance in the unmanifest. And the functioning of that manifestation is what we call life. So life as it happens, as a functioning of the manifestation. And the manifestation is really not real. Therefore, whatever is happening in the manifestation that we call life is not real. Therefore, it means Leela. Leela really means entertainment. Leela really means entertainment. And once the total acceptance is, no one is a doer. With the total acceptance, you precisely whatever is happening, as if you are seeing it on your TV, no difference.
So it's like
Once you
saying
accept,
Maya
no one is a doer.
is the mind of God in manifestation.
God or reality or consciousness has to be inherent in every object. The unmanifest one has become the manifest many. The unmanifest one has become the manifest many. Therefore it is the same one unmanifest which is in everything manifest.
And the Maya is the illusion of
being independent.
yeah.
Maya is the illusion of being I am an independent entity. I am responsible for what I do, and you are responsible for what you
It
do.
still comes down to the non-doership.
That's what it comes to.
Thank you. The other question was, in the talk yesterday, you were making a distinction between surrender and giving up.
I'm sorry? Yeah,
And-
for me, a very big difference.
Can you explain that again?
Yeah. If I surrender to you, it means first we had a dispute. Now that dispute may be an oral discussion or a war or a battle. And in that battle, I lose, you win, so I have to surrender. That is the surrender, which is an acknowledgement of defeat.
Sorry, it's what?
An acknowledgement of defeat.
It's not an... Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Surrender in daily living, as it is usually accepted,
Yeah.
means an acknowledgement of a defeat. So, if I surrender to God with an acknowledgement of defeat, that surrender God will not accept.
And that applies to oneself in just...
Therefore, the surrender really means I never existed. I never exist. I don't exist. I don't exist. It is God working through I'm not the doer. For practical purposes, if I'm not doing, I really don't exist.
And this is where
Which
seekers...
is the surrender. And surrender is, I don't really exist to surrender. I really don't exist to do any surrender. Therefore, surrender always happens. Surrender cannot be done by no individual entity can do the surrendering. That is not surrender.
It's happening according to cosmic law.
Therefore, the surrender can only happen.
Because it's so often confused, I think, with seekers that somehow surrendering is giving up everything, and that's a kind of defeat.
That is the point. You can't. You see, the sense of doership is so deeply ingrained.
That it just adds to the doership of
And exactly therefore,
Of doing nothing.
What is misunderstood is that in order to be enlightened, I must surrender myself to God.
self.
And there is no self to do any surrendering.
That is a huge...
You simply do not exist.
Yeah, that's a huge...
With the total
Wow.
understanding, I simply do not exist.
Yeah.
The surrender has already happened. Therefore, you cannot do, and exactly on the same basis that I hate the word forgiveness. You must forgive. Isn't that? You must forgive the other. Isn't that what the religion
Yes,
tells you?
yes, yes.
Is that not what religion tells you?
Yes.
You must forgive the other. Why? For doing something which you should not have done. So who forgives whom? For what? Nobody is a doer. If I accept no one is a doer, who is to forgive whom? For what? Therefore, the word forgiveness, the basis of the word forgiveness is personal doership. The basis of the word forgiveness is personal doership. Therefore, religion accepts that you are the doer and tells you that you must forgive the other doer.
Same with surrender. Same with surrender.
Same as surrender.
Surrender has a personal doership. It's not really surrender.
If there is personal, then it is not surrender. It is acknowledgement of defeat.
That's a huge one for me, Ramesh. I think if anything, I came here for all of this time, it was for just that. It's like, whew.
It is, yes.
That thing around surrender,
Who
it's
is
just...
to forgive whom? For what?
Well, for me it's the surrender, because
is
it
a
was
big
such a
thing.
huge thing around this thing of surrender, and it's like that to me is just, wow.
For me, even a bigger one, a bigger significance. For me, Helen, what is a bigger significance is, I cannot commit a sin. Much bigger than, more important, the psychopath cannot commit a sin. Nobody can commit a sin. Because nobody is capable of doing anything. And the basis of sin is doing something which you should not have done.
Thank you. Sure. I can go now.
I can go now.
Such an enormous relief. I cannot commit a sin. I don't have to fear God. And if I don't have to fear God, nothing stops me from loving God as my creator. Thereafter, what happens in life is my destiny God's will, cosmic law. Functioning, my destiny functioning through the society in which I live. I don't have to fear God, but my destiny in this life is based on the society in which I live. Therefore, I do whatever I feel like doing, knowing that whether it results in pleasure or pain has never ever been in anyone's control. If there is pleasure, I enjoy it. But knowing that it is not my doing, the pleasure is never accompanied by pride. If there is pain, I suffer it. But the pain is never accompanied by guilt or shame, not my action. Pleasure or pain, action after action, result after result, society's verdict after verdict, reward or punishment, pleasure or pain. That is daily living for millions of years. Which I have to accept. Therefore, pleasure I enjoy, but it is not accompanied by pride of achievement. Pain I suffer, I am compelled to, but it is not accompanied by guilt. I should not have done that, I should have done something else. That is the guilt. But there is never any question of my having done anything. Therefore, whatever I have done, the result of it the society considers my action. Therefore, what happened with the society is my destiny. But as far as my relationship with God is concerned, there can never ever be any difference. Why? Helen, because I have never done anything at all. I am not capable of doing anything. Whatever seems to be my action to the society is an action produced by God through this body-mind organism. Therefore, any action which follows is God's action through this body-mind organism. Whatever happens to the psychopath is God's action through that body-mind organism, precisely for the reason it is made the way it is. So those actions should happen. Therefore, we say, the saint, what a wonderful man, everything. But that saint is an instrument made by God so that those kinds of events should happen. Therefore, the saint is a body-mind instrument. The psychopath is a body-mind instrument. I am a body-mind instrument. You are a body, mind, instrument through which God functions or consciousness functions and brings about whatever is supposed to happen at any particular moment. That is the Maya, that is the Leela.
It's amazing how just one little thing makes it all go.
Amazing, truly, how simple it is. And that is precisely what the intellect doesn't want to accept. Too simple.
It's too simple.
Too simple. Can't be that simple. But your heart says that's exactly it.
Sure. Thank you.
Yes. Good.
Enjoying her tears. It's hard for me to get my head around this. You can't commit a sin. You cannot commit a sin.
I'm sorry?
It's hard for me to get my head or something around the fact that you cannot commit a sin.
But that is obvious, Kurt. That, Kurt, is obvious. You know why? Kurt cannot do a damn thing. Kurt cannot push the understanding up here down to the heart.
Yeah.
Kurt is not the doer. Therefore, it will happen precisely the moment it is supposed to happen. Therefore, let it happen, let life flow. In the meantime, what does Kurt do? Enjoy life. When there is enjoyment, suffer is suffering when there is suffering.
This morning I was looking at the aspect of protection.
Protection.
Yeah. Did you ever have that?
How do you mean?
Did you ever feel like you needed to protect yourself, or was it a mode of
for
protection?
one reason.
Yeah.
If I am not going to be hurt, no power on earth can hurt me. What do I need protection from? What do I need protection from? From whom do I need any protection? And if my destiny is to be hurt, I'll hurt myself. If my destiny is to be hurt, against whom shall I protect myself? If I'm not going to be hurt, no question of any protection. If I'm going to be hurt, I protect myself against whom? Therefore, the question of protection never really arises. Question of protection never really arises.
Did it used to?
And yet, such a valuable, don't forget, the Arabian saying, have faith in God, but tether your animal.
But what?
Tether, tie up your camel. Tie up your
Camel.
camel. The word tether means tie up. Therefore, have faith in God, but lock your car. Have faith in God, but lock your door.
Faith is a loaded word.
Which means, in a given situation, do whatever you feel you should do. Everything clicks together. In a given situation, do what you feel you should do, knowing that the result is never in my control. I lock up my car, knowing that even so the car can be stolen. I lock my room, knowing that it will still be open. But at that moment, I feel I must lock my door. I lock my door. In any given situation, do whatever you feel you should do, knowing that what happened thereafter has nothing to do with what you have done. But that does not prevent you from locking your car or locking your door.
This morning I was also looking at, in this area of my body, every morning I wake up with anxiety. you know. And I was looking at it as maybe fear or anxiety anyway. And what came up was this need to protect, you know.
Yeah,
But-
that unfortunately is a very hard
Yeah.
relationship with your father.
And I was noticing also when you were speaking that it seemed to be tied to the concept of being born in sin or born in guilt. So I realized I was waking up feeling the sense of guilt.
That is why religion. You're born in guilt. Every moment you commit sin. What sin?
Yeah.
If you're not the doer, what sin can you commit?
And how can you not despise yourself if you're born with this concept? If you're
Yes, but did you understand you are not the doer? You can neither despise yourself, nor can you admire yourself. There is
Right.
no question of admiring myself or despising myself, or hating the psychopath.
Right now, that's just faith. You know, that's for me. That's faith. Just
But
understand.
that is the point. So when that becomes intellectual, goes to the heart. Just wait,
Yeah.
wait and watch. In the meantime, enjoy life.
So the other question I had was when you had this translating, and you had that experience.
Yes, but frankly,
Yeah.
I didn't need the experience.
Hmm.
Frankly, I didn't need the experience.
Okay. So
That experience had to happen. But honestly, I didn't need it.
because I feel I have experiences of that periodically.
Therefore, that means you're having free samples
Yeah.
of the real thing. So wait until you get the real thing and not just the samples.
Okay.
Free samples.
Patience. Thank you.
You have so many discussions about so many gurus and so many. Sometimes it makes me angry, but I understand it. They do not have answers to your questions.
They don't.
They go around, sidestep your questions. Why? Because their understanding is not based on their own personal seeking as a seeker. It's all coming from outside absorbed.
And it's based on
I have
being the doer.
I have an answer for every one of your questions because I've been through it. As a seeker, I have asked most of those questions I've asked myself. Most of those questions I've asked myself and more. To the extent my happiness depends not on the flow of life, but in my attitude to life. What do I mean by my attitude to life? Then I tell you, my attitude to life means my attitude towards the other. And what does that give me? It's supposed to give me peace of mind. I didn't stop there. What do I mean by peace of mind? If someone comes and says, this will give me peace of mind, but when will I know that I have peace of mind? And that is what the man in the West now says. Am I having fun? I'm pursuing fun, but am I having fun? So how do I know that I have got peace of mind? That wasn't easy. And the answer I came to is, I have peace of mind when I'm never uncomfortable with myself. Something outside may make me uncomfortable. Oh, I have no control. But I say I have peace of mind when I'm never uncomfortable with myself, I'm never uncomfortable with the other. So when you feel that, you have peace of mind. But more important, when you do have peace of mind, you won't even have to ask the question, do I have peace of mind? That is the joke.
It's funny. It's like all the conditioning from our parent society. Then the spiritual conditioning has to be let go of. I mean, 10 years of spiritual conditioning, taking information in.
That is like condition. That's why I always say up-to-date conditioning.
And then all the well-meaning, trying to help.
It's conditioning.
It's also not allowing acceptance.
All the advice that people have given you is fresh conditioning.
Which in a way is no different than the conditioning I had before.
That is the point. And how and which conditioning at what time really has a real impact on you, your destiny.
And it's not like it adds more comfort with myself, because in much of the spiritual traditions it's about ascension or bliss, or this other altered place,
And that is precisely why the Buddha used the word enlightenment means the end of suffering. He did not say ananda, joy, freedom. He said use the negative word. And again, as I told you, when he said enlightenment means the end of suffering, I knew it. What was the suffering which I'm now no longer uncomfortable with myself. What was the suffering? I used to feel uncomfortable with myself. That was the suffering, which now ends. That is why. Then because I've had this from my personal experience as a seeker, I'm not talking of spiritual experience. For me, they're worthless.
It's everywhere. It's in advertising. Look differently, have a different body, wear a certain makeup, dress a certain way. It's everywhere. Everywhere is the conditioning to not be comfortable with yourself.
And any new experience is fresh conditioning. Whatever you read every morning in the day newspaper, fresh conditioning. Whatever you hear anywhere, fresh conditioning. Whatever you have experienced, fresh conditioning.
You think it's valuable to look in the body? It's mind. Okay.
No, Kirk, no. In any situation, do whatever you feel you should do. That is, you can't get away from it. That is the starting point.
I mean, this morning I was doing an exercise I sometimes do after I meditate, was to go into my body and sort of feel what's happening. And then I noticed, gosh, there's all this anxiety. I have it right now. There's all this anxiety right here. And some teachers, some enlightened teachers today, speak that this was the way they became enlightened, was to go through and feel into the body. And then I sat there and thought, well, Ramesh, my understanding of Ramesh's teaching is that's not necessary,
No. Wait a minute. Necessary or not depends on what is to happen. Meditation is necessary in most cases. But the meditation doesn't work so long as Kirk says, I am doing the meditation. The moment Kirk comes to total acceptance, never ever did I do the meditation. Meditation was happening, but I didn't realize it. So meditation, if it is necessary, will happen.
So many layers.
And in a particular case, if meditation is not necessary, it need not happen, it won't happen. In the case of Ramana Maharshi, no meditation. He said, I never sat in meditation, I never did any spiritual practice. I never meditated. I was not even a spiritual seeker.
No, I was noticing even the thought that of not doing the meditation or not doing something that's so-called spiritual conditioning was this, that I was being a bad whatever.
No, I'll tell you why that is difficult.
Gosh.
Because I'm doing the meditation.
Yeah.
How can I say I'm not doing the meditation? Answer is, as an act, you have to sit in meditation.
Yeah.
You have to press the button for something to happen. You still have to press the button.
Yeah.
So you still have to sit in meditation. You still have to sit in meditation. But once you sit in meditation, thereafter don't meditate. Let meditation happen. You still have to sit in meditation. But at the point will come when you will not even have to sit in meditation. Point will come when meditation happens throughout the day, which means there is no need of specific meditation for specific periods. And meditation happens throughout the day, when the thinking mind is not involved at any moment. That happens when the sense of doership is absolutely total. Thereafter you merely, whatever is happening is witnessed. And meditation is just that. Meditation is just that, witnessing whatever happens as a happening. Okay?
Can I just
Please.
clarify something?
Yes.
It comes back to this whole thing like Kurt was talking about, the New Age thing of ascension and all the different techniques and all that stuff which I've been through as well. I just want to clarify because it's kind of it's an important point for me. It seems that all of those things were valid, but it's the underlying belief still, as you're saying, that it's like I personally am doing this practice, and it's the kind of belief that it's this I, of which I am in control, has to be developed to get to so-called enlightenment. So underneath that is still the bottom line misconception is I am the doer. It's really the underpinning
Therefore,
mistake of the whole lot, isn't it?
yeah, I cannot build a body unless I go to the gym and do exercise. I have to do.
But as you say, the distinction is you still have to, I have to press the button to take the body there, but it's like then once I get the body there, it's the misconception that it's I that will do anything to the body. It's at that point where the problem comes in with all of these techniques, all of the New Age stuff.
Therefore, the point is, in any given situation, you still have to do whatever is necessary. So therefore now, it is necessary for me to pick up the cup and drink it. That is an action which has to happen. But the action that happens with the total, it is not me doing anything.
But now what about all of this stuff around like ascension?
I'm sorry?
All of this, you know, these techniques that are around ascension. I mean, it's...
But all this is... When Buddha said this concept, many people, his students must have come and said, I understand it is such a lovely concept, I accept it intellectually. But I need to do something in life. The validity of it, the Buddha accepted.
The validity of what?
To do something. The doership is so deeply ingrained.
So the ascension thing is just another trip of doership.
It is doership. Therefore, the Buddha said, all right, then he gave all I don't even bother to know what it is. The six-way path, this, that, and the other. I don't even bother. So he gave that to someone because they needed something to hang on to. All right, hang on to this.
And actually reaching ascension is just the place of realizing you're not the doer. Checkmate.
You see, so at some point, all these things I've been doing, I've been fooled.
Yeah.
Do you think
I've been, and
Fooled.
curious, the saint Tukaram, incidentally, He is the direct representative, the ancestor of Sanjay there, Saint Tukaram. He always knows. He went to this Vithala. He said, "You are Vithala, I am not nothing. You are God, I am nothing." And then when he realized that there is only the reality, there is no me.
Yeah.
Then he tells Vithala, "Vithala, you are a rogue.
Oops.
You are a rogue. I didn't know that I and you were one, but you did.
You should have told me.
And yet you exacted all this devotion from me all these years. You are a rogue."
It's interesting because Wayne, yesterday I was reading in Wayne's book, Nevermind, he was talking about that many seekers have this illusion that all of a sudden they're going to be living in this oneness, that there is not going to be any separation, and any separate other person or object or subject-object, as you were talking. And it was a little bit sobering, even though in a sense I understood it, but I was sitting here going, of course, in this seeking there is this sense that all of a sudden I'm just going to melt into something that's going to completely disappear as I know myself.
No, that is an experience which can happen.
Yeah. That is an experience. I've had that happen.
Yeah. But the point is, Ramesh is identified consciousness. Two aspects. Fundamentally, I can only be a three-dimensional object. One perspective. The other perspective is, I can only be the source. I am that, you are that, I am the source.
One or the other.
So the two together means I am consciousness, but I am identified consciousness. Therefore, so long as the body, mind, organism is there, I have to live that identified consciousness. And the maximum I can hope to have as an individual entity is to remain connected with the source without that connection ever being broken. I can never be consciousness.
I think the confusion comes in though when we have these altered states.
All these misconceptions.
And then you think you can live daily life in that state of what you experience.
Yeah.
And that is why, what is enlightenment? No more individual. Rubbish. Ramana Maharshi lived for 50 years as a separate entity who responded to his name being called.
Because it's so attractive, this ascension or this bliss, we don't want to hold. There's a part of me that says no, it has to be.
You know why it is so attractive?
Get away from the pain?
No. Get away from the responsibility of doing whatever is necessary in any situation.
Word responsibility.
Even that responsibility I don't want. Therefore, action has to be there. And for an action to happen, a body, mind, organism has to be there. And as long as the body, mind, organism is alive, there has to be a hallucination of a separate entity. So the maximum Ramesh can have, so long as the body, mind, organism is alive, is to remain connected with the source, with the connection never being broken. That is the maximum I can expect. When the body is there, the identification with consciousness is not necessary. And the identified consciousness, Ramesh, is no longer necessary. And the identified consciousness again becomes impersonal consciousness, with which Ramesh is really not concerned.
That feels really true, that hallucination with a separate identity. In my whole being, that feels true.
The whole thing is an hallucination.
But it's interesting, I don't know how it is in other religions, but in Christianity, all the focus was on the ascension of Jesus into Christendom, and coming back after a certain number of days, and so I have a sense that in the conditioning we all hope that this is the reality for all of us, as Christians.
See, God, the fact of the matter is, not only Christianity, but particularly Christianity and the Islam is based on personal doership. Christianity and Islam and Hinduism as it is practiced. Hinduism as it is practiced is based on personal doership. You must always do good deeds. And if you do bad deeds in the next time, next life you will suffer. Therefore, honestly, sooner you give up religion and have a religion of your own, this problem will remain. That is why the book came out. Religion of your own. And the beauty of it, the last abhang which we sing, says exactly the same thing. The body-mind organism is an instrument through which life happens. Let it happen.
This is the Bhagavad Gita?
Sorry?
What?
No, this last bhajan, we say 5 bhajans, I think, 5 or 6. This is the last one.
Yeah, let life happen.
Dehadhari zo tyasi. Whoever has a body-mind organism, the body-mind organism has been programmed to do whatever is necessary. Let the body-mind organism function.
Not control, huh?
My feeling is Buddha stated precisely what is accurate. End of suffering. And that was my personal experience. End of the suffering of being uncomfortable with myself and uncomfortable with the other. So when I read that, I said, how accurate, how correct. End of what suffering? I knew it. The suffering being constantly being uncomfortable with myself, constantly being uncomfortable with the other, me for hurting others, the others for hurting me. That is the suffering which the Buddha accurately said ends when no one is a doer.
And just the last thing to make sure I've really got it, because I leave tomorrow, so
Go ahead. Go
just
ahead.
to really wring it all out. What you were talking about now, there's just a little something I'm not quite sure I heard
Go
it
ahead.
correctly, is we were talking about this thing of the misconception of enlightenment, but you can have this experience of bliss and, dissolvement of the personal self
I
completely
think that
into
also is a
oneself.
divine joke.
Sorry?
That I think is a divine joke. Give you an experience of oneness. So that's what you pursue.
No, but as you say, sometimes the experience happens.
That I know, that's why I said it's a divine joke.
It
No,
too
but-
is a divine joke.
Huh?
It too is a divine joke, he says.
So, yeah, okay, but let me just pursue it and then you can put me right on from what I'm understanding is you're saying you can have the experience, it's a divine joke,
And then
you have to come back into daily
no,
living.
you have that experience. Don't think you are a special person because
Yeah.
of that experience, which is what is likely to happen in 99 out of 100 cases.
But surely if one understands the experience with understanding, one realizes that it's, as you say, it's another free sample. So it
But that
deepens
is what
it
is to be understood, that it's a free sample.
It's a free sample which deepens your understanding of I'm not the doer.
Yes.
But you still have to come back into daily living, and what that experience would do in its largest form would help you keep your connection to source. That would become stronger.
Yes.
Yes.
But what happens is, the person says, I have had that experience. So he mentions it to 10 other people. Nobody has that experience. I'm a special person. And as a special person, I want to be a special person. Therefore, I pursue more such experiences, which I don't have. If somebody recently hasn't come. No. not the date, but what is 7th of August 1995, I had this experience. He remembers the time and the date and when this experience happened. Why? Since then he has been pursuing that experience.
But I find this no different than this pursuit no different than pursuing an altered state in drugs, in LSD, in...
That, I entirely agree.
You know.
That is correct, Scott. Where is the difference? You pursue an experience you have, and you can't do it. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, I do it, I've done it, but
Look, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if some of those people who have had an experience have turned into drug addicts.
Yeah.
Have what?
Have turned into drug addicts by pursuing that experience.
But
So if you mention this to someone, I had that experience, lovely experience, but I haven't had that experience again, then drug addict will do, you want one? Are you really keen on it? Yes. Take this.
But the experiences, though, Ramesh, do deepen your understanding. I mean, I've done drugs and I've had various other things. They do deepen your understanding, as long as you leave it at that. Is that what you're saying?
As long as you leave it at that.
Which is hard to
That
do.
means
Yeah.
accept that experience as a free sample over which you have no right,
And which you have no control.
over which you have no control.
But a
That
free
is
sample of what?
Divine will, cosmic law.
free sample of truly there being no individual separate entity at all.
But can it also cause more suffering?
And that's what I'm telling you, that is what it causes. If it is not properly understood as a free sample over which I have no control. So therefore it's a free sample of what? A free sample of not of what you are going to get in this life. In this life you can't be one with the soul. It's a free sample of what happens when the body is dead and the identification is no longer required.
Yeah, I think this is really important to know where to put this kind of experience. You know,
So that experience is not any of the living experience. That experience is what happens when the body is dead. And the identified consciousness as an ego is no longer necessary.
I know when I broke my neck, I had that experience. You know, it felt like I left my body and I was in this really
That
beautiful
is
place.
near that experience.
But when I came back in, as I called it,
Yes.
I was thrust back into this form, having to deal with my neck being, and this life and all the agony and pain and emotions, and I was back, and I was still had a hangover from that experience. I felt something transformed in me, but still, I think there was a part of me wanting to live that every moment. You know what I mean?
Now, the other way around.
Yeah.
When you had that experience and you came back, did you not wish that you had not come back?
Yes.
Did you not wish that you had not come back?
Yes, I did.
That is the point. Therefore, it is precisely for this reason that no one need fear death.
No.
Every near-death experience said, I did not want to come back. So that is every near-death experience. Why should anybody worry about that?
Mine's been the opposite. It's been fearing life.
I'm sorry?
Mine has been the opposite. It's more fearing life,
Fearing life.
Yeah.
All right, fearing life.
not fearing death.
So then what it means is that means the end of life. Which you don't have to fear.
But fearing day-to-day living is something different,
But that is every near-death experience. Wishing we had not come back. Commenting in every near-death experience. That is why I say it's clearly so. No one needs fear death.
But I noticed there is something, they were talking about it, and there is something that wants to seek that experience in this living,
Which is impossible.
Yeah.
That is my point, which is impossible.
As much as I let go of it, I can still see underneath there's still some,
Wanting to be one with
yeah.
my point is, what can be one with the other? Something which is not one wants to be joined together. But there are no two. One to mingle with the other or melt into the other. There is only one.
That is just...
There is, therefore, so long as there is a separate entity, the nearest you can come is as a separate entity, so long as the body, mind, organ is alive, to remain never unconnected with the soul. That's the maximum you can have. Wanting anything more can never happen when there is total understanding. When the total understanding is this basic fact, I can never, maximum I can hope to have as a separate entity is never to be unconnected with the soul.
But isn't even the seeking of pleasure or perhaps seeking of suffering, pain, also a seeking of the source? Trying to be one with source?
No, that is being involved in life.
Okay.
And being involved with life means being disconnected from the soul. Never being disconnected means never getting involved in anything. You don't get involved in anything when you don't blame and condemn anybody for anything. Then you are never unconnected with the soul.
And this unconnected with source.
Everybody is connected with the soul because every individual is identified consciousness.
Well, how to stay true to that?
But you get the connection just broken every time I get involved in something. Involved in something means blaming or condemning myself or condemning someone else.
But is that actually disconnected?
Sorry?
But is that actually disconnected, really? Even when you get involved, are you really, even if you really believe that's divine will, even for that to happen, you're still not disconnected?
Therefore, being disconnected
is an illusion.
Is part of the destiny, and you become disconnected as part of your destiny.
But
being disconnected means unhappiness.
But what I'm saying, Ramesh, is can you actually really be disconnected? Because if it's your destiny to then experience that unhappiness, then that is still the God force flowing through you, which means you are not disconnected.
Whatever is supposed to happen is happening.
Which means you're still connected. So to me it seems it's an illusion that you can actually be disconnected.
So if you accept this fact,
is
then there is nothing more to be said.
Is that right?
Of course it's right. So if you tell me, ultimately what it means is, there is no creation, there is no... I say, yes.
If you live
if you can live with
So you're
that.
talking about the seeming disconnection, the appearance of disconnection.
So this is a fact.
Yeah.
There never been any creation. The creation itself
is an illusion, Maya.
Is an illusion, a Maya. So if you, then no. The moment somebody says that is so, then so I said, we believe that? He said yes. But
so it's such a contradiction. Yeah.
So I said, if there is no creation, who the hell wants to talk, say anything? That's what I
say that last sentence again.
If someone accepts that there is really no creation, after that he can't say any word.
Say anything.
Therefore, just stop. But he say about this.
So it's a complete contradiction, because it's like you're saying on the one hand you cannot stay completely connected to the source in daily living. It's an illusion. You can't do that. The best is that you can have the acceptance that you keep your connection.
No,
and then on the other hand, one is saying all of this is Maya.
Yes, therefore, I'll tell you. Ramesh as an illusion in this illusory world wants to be illusorily remain connected with the source, and that being illusorily connected with the source can happen only if I accept totally that in this illusion, Ramesh is not the doer, no one else is the doer.
Wow!
Again and again, you ask a question, I have the answer.
So it's a complete contradiction. Well, yeah, it's a contradiction, but it's not. Depending on which end of the scale you happen to be sitting.
Therefore, if you finally accept no creation, no more word from you.
No
Stop.
creation of what?
This whole creation of the universe. No creation at all. There is really no creation. That itself is a thought. I am that I am. It's just a thought. I am that I am. And what am I? This whole universe.
But I am that thought.
Is that
Ultimately, I
But
am
you-
that thought.
you are that,
That
or
thought, the thought.
there is only that which existed before this thought happened, that I am that I am.
Well, I am that thought the I am.
So you are truly what you were before the thought, first thought. I am that I am is the first thought. Before that first thought happened, there was only the one unmanifest. But the fact is that we have to live our life. We have to live our illusory life as an illusory entity in relationship with another illusory entity and still pursue the illusory happiness.
Are you saying that thought created the universe?
Yes, it is indeed.
Because that's intellectual.
But that is the thought. I am that I am. I am the universe.
But Ramesh, that brings me back to, you said not to think about it, but when I try to explain that experience I had with that Sufi master, that's what I thought I was experiencing, was that I am that spark of I amness that had the thought, and as the thought came, so creation came. So that's why I thought I was experiencing that beingness that had the thought out of which creation came into being. And it was the experience of that had the thought.
Who had the experience of
Well,
that
who
oneness?
had?
Of that oneness.
So wasn't I just experiencing the oneness?
Then there was an experience of oneness. Helen did not have that experience.
So
There
that
was an experience of oneness. The mistake lies in Helen thinking.
had the
I
experience.
had the experience of being one with the self.
So I was just having a free sample of oneness.
There was a free sample of oneness.
That's okay.
There was a free sample of oneness.
That's what happened.
That's what happened.
Thank you.
No one can have that experience.
Okay, that's
That
where-
experience of oneness has, because there is no one to have that experience.
But it was an experience. It was a happening of an experience of oneness.
But not Helen having that experience. Okay?
Thank you.
Right.
Oh. And
Suresh,
what- just before, one
will
last
send
thing.
a copy of this to Jaya.
One last thing. Maria sends her love. Maria, the English lady who's doing the translation for you.
I see, yes.
I
yes,
had
yes.
an email. She sends her love to you.
So Suresh, send a copy of this to Jaya. She will appreciate it.
Oh, I want a copy of this one too.
So will you remember all that you have heard today, Helen?